Saints of God, and welcome with Wake Up with First Service. I am your host, Minister Morris. Philippians 2:14, it tells us to do all things without murmuring or disputing. But when it comes to the children of Israel, they did the exact opposite, and they did it on a regular basis. In our program this morning, we'll look at the children of Israel complaining about the manna that the Lord provided to help them in their dire need, and that dire need was hunger. So in our program this morning, we will be in Numbers, the 11th chapter. We'll be going through verses 4 through 23, and our lesson is entitled Complaints About the Manna. Now, this manna was provided by God. It was given by God to provide substance for the children of Israel. So the children of Israel are once again complaining, and this time it did more than just anger Moses, it angered the Lord. And the Lord, because of this anger, he burned among them and he consumed them, some of them in the outskirts of the camp. And then what happened was the people, they began to cry out to Moses, who prayed on behalf of the people, and the fire was quenched. But as soon as the fire was quenched, the complaining began once again. This is where our lesson picks up. So we see that this is a running theme with the children of Israel. They complain, they get blessed, they complain, and then they get blessed, they complain, and they get blessed again. And we're seeing that God is showing his infinite patience with his children of Israel. Even though they're complaining about him keeping them, about him sustaining them, and about him providing for them something as important as food for their bellies. So let's go down to our first section of scripture. We're going to go through verses 4 through 9. And this is where Israel begins this complaining about the manna. The manna, not the manna that Moses gave them, but this is the manna that the Lord has provided for the children of Israel. So let's go down to verse 4, 11th chapter of Numbers. We'll go through verses 4 through 9. Verse 4. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting, and the children of Israel also wept again, and said, Who shall give us flesh to eat? Now, we remember the fish, which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers, the melons, and the leeks, and the onions, and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes. And the manna was as coriander seed, and the color thereof as the color of bdellium. And the people went about and gathered it, and ground it in mills, or beat it in a mortar, and baked it in pans, and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was as the taste of fresh oil. And when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it. So the first thing we're seeing here is that we're told that there was a multitude of people who came out of Egypt with Moses who are not full-blooded Israelites. See, many of these people, they were foreigners. They were Egyptians. They were those who were fellow slaves along with the Israelites. And they were slaves in Egypt right along with the children of Israel. And they saw that the God of Israel was more powerful than the gods of the Egyptians. And they decided to leave along with Moses and the children of Israel. Now, this group had a strong desire for something pleasant. and they began lusting for the plenty as well as the variety of food that they had in Egypt. Their minds went back to the fish, to the cucumbers, to the melons, to the leeks, and to the onions and garlic that they ate freely. And they began to feel that the Lord had done something wrong by them by taking them away from all those good things that they were eating in Egypt and all the food that they enjoyed, even though that this food came at a hefty price. So we see that this mixed multitude is not on the same page as the children of Israel. These are outsiders. These are Egyptians. These are just wanderers who saw the way that God had kept the children of Israel and decided to hitch their wagon to them. But as soon as they leave out in the Exodus with the children of Israel, they forget about all the hard times they went through. They forget about how they were making bricks without straw, how the taskmasters was on them, and how the end of that whip stings so bad. See, this is what happens when we start focusing on the natural things solely and not the spiritual things. See, they got tired of eating the manna. They wanted something different. They wanted the things they had in Egypt, even though being in Egypt was no fun at all. So we see that the people now are sick of the manna. They're tired of eating the same thing every day. But the problem is that this manna is the good provision of the Lord. And as soon as this bread from heaven it could not stop their complaining. Their complaining heart, their complaining spirit, and the complaining mind that they had in them. And this complaining mind, this complaining spirit, this complaining heart that they had could not keep them from exaggerating the problems of the present while romanticizing the past. See, they were so caught up in what they had left behind, that they could not focus on what God was doing for them right now. And this manna, if we were to see what this manna was, it was the color of bdellium. Now, bdellium is a type of gum, a type of resin, and it's a dark brown. And the coriander seed is a small round seed. So this manna was dark brown in color. It was small like seeds, like kernels of corn. And these things, this manna was dropped down, was delivered at night with the dew. And this is how good God is. He delivered it at night. And in the morning they got up and they gathered this manna. And it kept them sustained. It kept them full. But more so, it kept them alive. And this is the type of God we're serving. It might not come the way we want it to come, but God will deliver on our behalf sustenance. He will keep us. He will guide us. He will give us a healing. He will give us a strength. He will give us an understanding in our times of need. And even though it might not come the way we want it, we still have to have an appreciative spirit that God sends it the way that he sees fit. So the question is, what was the real issue? Was the issue really the manna? Was they really tired of eating the same thing every day, even though it kept them alive? Well, the issue was that the Lord provided their every need, but not their every desire. See, they became bored with the same blessing every day. They became bored with having their stomachs filled with the manna every day. They became bored of going out picking this manna up every day at the same time. See, this is the mindset we have to not get caught up in. Getting bored with the way God blesses us. Getting bored with the way God keeps us. Getting bored with the way God has guided us and strengthened us throughout our lives. See, Israel could have had meat. The Lord did not prohibit them from going out and hunting, going out and hunting game, and getting this meat that their hearts desired. Plus, they had their own flocks as they came out in the Exodus. Mind you, they came out of the Exodus with more than they went in. Remember, Pharaoh gave them all these flocks, all this gold, all these extravagant things just so they would leave. So they had the flocks. All they had to do was kill them if the meat was that important. So we see that these children of Israel are just complaining to the Lord about something they want, not necessarily something they need. Now, in verses 7 through 9, we see just how unreasonable that their complaints were. And this is based on the description of the manna. It was good for food. It was pleasant to the eye. It was wholesome. It was nourishing. And here's the thing. It didn't cost them anything. God gave it freely. And it fell at night, and gathering it was no labor at all. And it was prepared with oil like they do donuts. So we see it tasted good, it looked good, it was easy to get, it was easy to prepare. And this only proves the heart that the children of Israel had. They had this complaining spirit. And this complaining spirit was so strong that even God, doing everything for them, making everything as easy as possible for them to live, for them to survive, and for them to keep going on, for him to make it that easy and they still complain, proves that even God in his infinite wisdom and goodness could not quench their complaining spirit. So this is where the children of Israel are. They are in this complaining mindset, this complaining spirit with people who are not like them, who just came out because they saw an opportunity to get out of Egypt, to get out of bondage. But now this complaining spirit is running wild throughout the camp of Israel. So this is the problem that Moses has at his hands. He's trying to keep these people together, but all these little issues keep popping up and making it just that much harder. Now, in our next section of scripture, verses 10 through 15, we will see now Moses, upon hearing all the complaints of the people, Moses himself now complains to the Lord about what's going on. So let's look at verses 10 through 15 and see the complaint that Moses has and the complaint that Moses is taking to the Lord. Verses 10 through 15. Verse 10. Then Moses heard the people weep throughout the families, every man in the door of his tent, and the anger of the Lord was kindled greatly. Moses also was displeased. And Moses said unto the Lord, Wherefore hast thou afflicted thy servant? And wherefore have I found favor in thy sight, that thou layest the burden of all this people upon me? Have I conceived all this people? Have I begotten them, that thou shouldest say unto me, Carry them in thy bosom as a nursing father beareth the sucking child unto the land which thou swearest unto their fathers? Whence should I have flesh to give unto all the people? For they weep unto me, saying, Give us flesh that we may eat. I am not able to bear all these people alone, because it is too heavy for me. And if thou deal thus with me, kill me, I pray thee out of hand, if I have found favor in thy sight, and let me not see my wretchedness. This is a whole lot on Moses. Moses is he's really laying it out here for the Lord how he feels. He feels that he's failed as a leader. He feels that this is not right for him to have to bear all these burdens of the people when all he's trying to do is serve the Lord. So we see that the weeping and the complaining of the people has not only displeased the Lord, but Moses also. So much so that he begins to complain to the Lord because of his frustration. So we see that this complaining spirit that started with the mixed multitude, mixing in with the children of Israel, this complaining spirit has now affected Moses. And Moses is now complaining unto the Lord. It just goes to show you that these spirits do leap. These complaining spirits leap. These the anger spirits, these things leap from person to person. And if you think it's not true, you get up in the morning, you're feeling good, you're looking good, everything, you have a great outlook on life, until you get that phone call, until you get that knock on the door, until somebody rings your bell and you hear this conversation. And the moment you hear this conversation, your whole dispensation changes. You go from being upbeat to now you're downtrodden. This is a spirit. And people don't know that when they do these things, these spirits leap on people and it will bring you and I down. This is no different in the case of Moses. Now, Moses would respond to the Lord as many do during trying times. He's questioning why they are going through so much trouble, so much pain, so much anguish, while they are what? Serving the Lord. It would seem that if we are serving the Lord, everything should go smooth. If we are serving the Lord, everything should go great. There should never be a bad day. There should never be a down day. There should never be no opposition. But the truth is the exact opposite. When we are faithful in serving the Lord, opposition will come. Hard times will come. Trials and tribulations will come, because those things that test us makes us better. And if our faith is not tested, is it a real faith at all? And this is what God is doing. This is nothing but a continuation of testing from God to Moses. And Moses right now is feeling the weight, feeling the burden of this test of trying to keep these people together on the same page, on the same path, worshiping the same God. Now, Moses continued on likening himself to a parent as the children of Israel, as his children. And this is somewhat correct, for the Israelites were acting like a bunch of babies throwing a temper tantrum about having to eat manna every single day. See, Moses was extremely frustrated. He was emotionally pained, and he was fed up. This leads Moses to pray to the Lord to do what? Ease his pains, but not in the way that we would think. He wanted the Lord to ease his pains and his discomfort by killing him, taking him out this world, taking him out this life. This is how the frustration, this is how heavy it was. This is how it weighed on Moses, that he didn't even want to be in the land of the living, having to deal with their issues, having to deal with their complaining, having to deal with all these problems that wasn't really a problem at all, especially if you have faith in God. But the Lord, being filled with infinite wisdom, wanted Moses to see his inability to fix the problem apart from God. See, God wanted Moses to see for himself that you cannot do it by yourself. You cannot do these things alone. You cannot take this weight. You cannot take this pressure by yourself. So what did this lesson was it supposed to teach Moses? It was supposed to teach him to depend more on God. In the things that we come up short in the areas that we come up short in the areas that we don't know, that's when we turn it over to the Lord, and this is what he's trying to teach Moses. This will lead Moses to be strong in the Lord and not himself. And that's the thing that we as people, we have to understand. Sometimes we can be strong in ourselves. Sometimes we can be strong in another individual, in another person, in another saint of God. But more times than none, we have to be strong in the Lord. So this is what Moses is doing. He's at his breaking point, to the point where he no longer wants to be here. He no longer wants to be in the land of the living because of all this pressure and all this weight that the children of Israel is putting on him. Let's continue. Verse 16 and 17. Now we're going to see that the children complain to Moses. Moses complains to God. God's going to answer Moses' complaint, his problems, and what's frustrating him. In verse 16 and 17, we're going to see that God sends help unto Moses. Let's go down to verse 16. And the Lord said unto Moses, gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom thou knowest to be the elders of the people and officers over them, and bring them unto the tabernacle of the congregation, that they may stand here with thee. And I will come down and talk with thee there, and I will take of the Spirit which is upon thee, and I will put it upon them, and they shall bear the burdens of the people with thee, that thou bear it not thyself alone. So here's the help. You're trying to do it on your own, it's not working out. You're trying to figure it out on your own, it's still not working out. So what was Moses to do? God told Moses to pick men who were already elders because of their wisdom, because of their conduct, and their ministry to others. So what did he want? He wanted people who have time in serving the Lord, who have time in serving the people. He wanted men who were smart, men who knew how to carry themselves, and men who had a spiritual relationship with the people and with God. See, this is the same thing that Moses' father-in-law told him in Exodus the 18th chapter when delegating authority to others. So let's look at Exodus 18, 21 and 22, and we're going to see that this is the same thing, that what God is saying now is what Jethro told him at that time. Let's look at Exodus 18, verses 21 and 22. 21. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands and rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties and rulers of tens. And let them judge the people at all seasons, and it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge, so shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee. This is the divine knowledge that Jethro, his father-in-law, gave him when Moses was trying to deal with everybody's issue, everybody's problems. There are hundreds of thousands of people that are coming to Moses with all these issues and all these problems. And what does Jethro tell them? Stop trying to do it by yourself. Get you some people, some right-minded people, some right-spirited people, and put them over these issues. Let them deal with the small things, and the things that they can't deal with, you let them bring it to you. Advice, this is the same knowledge that God is now giving Moses again. Get you 70 elders, and let these elders help you help the people. So we see that the first call was for the elders to simply what? Be the support. Be the strength behind Moses. For Moses, their presence, just support him and strengthen him. Show your presence there on behalf of God supporting Moses. But even more important than their support of Moses was that they were to have the same heart, the same vision, the same spirit that was what? On Moses. So we see that with the same heart, the same vision, and the same spirit, a group of individuals, if we all have the same thing, we can all go in the same direction, and we can all meet the same goal. This is what God had in mind, and this is what God had planned by bringing in these 70 elders who had a relationship with him, who had a relationship with Moses, and they all of them had the same vision and the same way they wanted to go. Because if you don't have the same vision, if we don't have the same heart, if we don't have the same spirit, there can't be no agreement. There could be no agreement, and if there is no agreement, if there is no resolution to whatever problem that we are trying to fix. Now, with everyone on the same page, the elders could help Moses carry the spiritual load of caring for the people and supporting Moses in the ministry. This is one of the many ways that God meets our needs. And he meets our needs sometimes through the charity of others, through people lending a helping hand, through people lending a financial blessing, or just people lending a listening ear or shoulder to cry on. See, a lot of times God meets our needs through the charity, through the heart, through the mind, the body, and the spirit of other people, other saints, other members, and sometimes even other strangers. Now, in verses 18 through 20, this section of scripture, we're going to see that God helps Moses get his things together by appointing the 70 elders to help him. But now we see that in spite of all the complaining, all the murmuring, all the weeping, and all the crying out, God still promises to provide meat to the children of Israel. This is just a testament of how good God really is. So let's see this promise that God is going to still deliver in verses 18 through 20. Verse 18. And say thou unto the people, sanctify yourselves against tomorrow, and ye shall eat flesh, for ye have wept in the ears of the Lord, saying, who shall give us flesh to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt, therefore the Lord will give you flesh, and ye shall eat. Ye shall not eat 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, but even a whole month, until it comes out at your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you, because ye have despised the Lord which is among you, and have wept before him, saying, why came we forth out of Egypt? So in spite of how this looks, in spite of how it looks on the surface, this is not a blessing. This is not a blessing that the people wanted. See, God promised to give them so much meat. Since you're complaining about it, I'm going to give you so much meat that they will become sick of it. And all because they denied and doubted the goodness of the Lord's deliverance. See, we have to be careful what we ask for, because we just might get it. Especially if we're asking for things that's not really needed but wanted. And we're asking for things begrudgingly as if God owes us anything. So we see the people look past the fact that God kept them with the manna because they wanted meat. See, they got blessed with life, but it didn't come the way they wanted or the way they expected. But now God says, you know what? If the manna's not good enough for you, I'll give you what you asked for. But guess what? You're going to still be in the same boat, but with a different food. See, this is the way God is. He gives us, he blesses us, he guides us, he encourages us. But we have to be careful to recognize the blessings that God gives. Otherwise, we, like the children of Israel, might be dismissive of it, we might just not recognize it, or we might doubt it and complain about it. And what a sad state to be in, to complain about when God blesses us exceedingly and abundantly. Now, in verse 21 through 23, we'll close out, and this is what happens. Moses now reacts to God's promise to provide meat. And you know, Moses has to be taken aback. These people have been complaining so much that I wanted to die. I came to you, Lord, and you sent me the 70 elders. You promised to give them meat after all this complaining, after all they've put me through, after all the murmuring, you still going to promise to give them meat? Well, this is the way God works, and God's understanding is not our understanding. So let's close out looking at verses 21 through 23 to see Moses' reaction to God still being a keeping God, a providing God, and a sustaining God to the children of Israel. Verse 21. And Moses said, the people among whom I am are 600,000 footmen, and thou hast said, I will give them flesh, that they may eat a whole month. Shall the flocks and the herds be slain for them to suffice them? Or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them to suffice them? And the Lord said unto Moses, is the Lord's hand waxed short? Thou shalt see now whether my word shall come to pass unto thee or not. So the initial reaction from Moses was confusion on how the Lord would still provide such a large number of people for such an extended period of time. And the answer is very simple. The Lord will provide because his arm has not been shortened, nor has he lost any strength. See, God has not changed. He's still the same today, tomorrow, and he'll be the same from henceforth, now and forever. It is us who changes. It is us who fall to the wayside. It is us who cannot understand the strength of the mighty hand of God. See, God wanted Moses to trust him, not figure out the miracle. Just trust that the miracle is going to happen. Don't worry about how it's going to work out, but just know it's going to work in your favor. See, the people, and this is God has a sense of humor. The people ended up in the same situation, but just with a different food to eat. And see, that's the way this complaining spirit, that's the way when we succumb to these things that is not of God, it leads us and it makes us look foolish. Because now we're right back where we started, and now we're not in the good graces of God. We're worse off where we started from, and now we're in a worse place now than when we started complaining. So we see that the complaining and the murmuring against our fellow man or woman, but more so against God, does not do us anything. We have to be like Moses. Trust in the plan and not try to figure it out. Just trust in God's plan that it's going to work, that it's going to be beneficial, and that everybody's going to be blessed. Trust in God. He's been blessing us since day one. He's been keeping us since day one, and he will continue to keep us as long as we keep giving him praise, honor, and glory. So the grumbling, the complaining, this comes from a root of bitterness that can run so deep within us that we can become blinded to what we're doing. And in our program this morning, we saw the dangers of a complaining spirit. It makes us not satisfied. It makes us always yearning for more. And in the case of this story, for something completely different. While it's not wrong to complain, to vent our frustrations to the Lord, it is wrong to complain about the Lord. Complain about how he's guiding us. Complain about how he's healing us. To complain about the way that he provides sustenance for us on a daily basis. See, we can't complain to the one that's keeping us. We can't bite the hand that's feeding us because that makes us ungrateful. That makes us not know from whence our strength comes, and we know that our strength comes from the Lord. So we cannot complain because God decided to bless us tomorrow and not today. We can't complain because God woke us up this morning and not this afternoon. We have to be grateful for whatever man does for us, for whatever woman does for us, but we have to be so much more grateful for whatever God does for us this day. So what have we seen this morning? Well, we've seen that complaining is contagious. People were complaining to each other about the manna. I'm sick and tired of eating it. Then they complained to Moses. Now Moses is fed up. Now Moses is complaining to God. See, that complaining spirit is contagious. So once we start feeling ourselves getting caught up in that complaining spirit, we got to cut it off right there. Because if not, we're just going to spread it to somebody else, spread it to this family, spread it to this congregation, spread it to this workplace. We need to stop it and nip it in the bud as soon as we realize that complaining spirit is on us. The second thing we've seen is that cravings can lead to sin. See, cravings are a powerful influence over our actions. When we, in the middle of the night, when we're craving something sweet, we will get up out the bed, throw the covers off, find our house shoes, find our robe, navigate down some dark steps or a dark hallway, and look in the front. We will go through all that because the cravings are that strong. But in the case of these children, the craving was to go back to where God had delivered us from. When God has delivered you and I out of a situation, out of a circle of people, out of a circumstance, out of a event, we best not start craving to go back to it because a small portion of that life was appealing to us. See, God delivered us for a reason. He saved us for a reason. He moved us forward out of this circle of people, out of these circumstances for a reason. So for us to look back to where God has taken us from is being disrespectful to God, and it's being disrespectful for us because God has seen something in us that was worth moving us out this circle of people, moving us out this group of people, moving us out this life into a new life. So let us not crave the things that God has taken us from, because God knows best and God knows exactly what He is doing. And the last thing we've seen is that people choose their knowledge over God's wisdom. See, the people, they thought they knew what was best for them and what they really needed and what they really wanted. See, the manna was good. It kept them alive, but it was getting boring. They was getting tired. And see, we should never get tired of God blessing us every day with life, every day with a roof over our head, every day with full cabinets, every day with the facility, the use of all our limbs. How can we possibly get tired of God blessing us just because it's not in the way that we thought that we should be blessed? So let us be wise and choose God's knowledge and God's wisdom over our own. So what have we learned? Well, we've learned it's okay to take our concerns, our frustrations, our problems to the Lord. Moses did, and he was truthful. He was honest. Moses wasn't mad at God. He wasn't angry at God. He was angry at the situation. He was fed up with the children of Israel. He was fed up with the murmuring and the complaining. And that's the mindset we have. When we're frustrated, when we're down, when we're fed up, when we're angry, let us not be angry at God. Let us be angry and frustrated with the situation. And then we take it to the Lord. Because that's why the problem was created in the first place. This is what God was teaching Moses. Stop trying to figure it out on your own and take it to me. Bring it to me and let me figure it out and teach you how to navigate through these issues and through these problems. You'll be surprised how quick a problem will get solved and rectified when we let it go and let God handle it. We've also learned that a mixed multitude without the same mind, without the same spirit, without the same purpose is dangerous in any group. For us to get to the kingdom of God, we have to be on the same page. We have to walk the same direction. We have to be conscious that we're all on the same page looking to get to the same goal. And when we got people wanting to go left when everybody else is going right, this is not going to work. This is causing confusion. And this is causing division in the group. It can cause division in the family if one or two people are not on the same page. We're talking about keeping a household and one person or two people are not concerned with it. It happens in the households of faith. When you have one group of people like this person and one group of people like this bishop and this group of people like this, see, we're dividing the house and everybody's not on the same page. So we need to stay on the same page with the same like-minded people who are trying to get to the same goal, and that goal is the kingdom of God. And finally, we've learned that God can provide help to ease our burdens. He can. He will. He already has in many instances in my life and yours. God has stepped in to help us out. God has sent a help to us in our time of need. And he sent the individual to lend a helping hand, to lend a shoulder to cry on, to send a person with words of encouragement, to build us up so we can just go that much further. See, God had the elders to help Moses. And why not anybody else? The elders are seasoned. They had a relationship with God. They had a spiritual relationship with the people. See, God's not going to send us people who can't help us. God is not going to send us people who are just going to add to the problem or become a stumbling block to us. No, God is going to send us people to get us back on track and back on the right direction. This is the type of God we serve. But if we refuse to lean on his knowledge, to lean on his understanding, and to turn all our issues over to him, then we'll just keep going in circles, trying to find a solution to a problem that God has already solved a long time ago. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson this morning. It's all the time that we have, and I encourage you to tune in to our 11 o'clock hour for the Hour of Power, where our leaders of the gospel are going to give us a word so that we can remain faithful and trusting on the provisions of the Lord. So on behalf of Miracle Corner, I've been your host today, Minister Morris, and as always, be safe, be encouraged, be blessed. Until we meet again.